Thank you for joining us today on Breakfast Central. If you're just joining, not to worry. You, of course, will be meeting the newspaper reviews, and for the rest that you've missed, you can catch up on YouTube. But we'll be joined this morning by Mr. Akatugba Theophilus. Good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning.
I wanted to dig away.
Happy New Year.
We must do this year.
No.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
It just feels like, I don't know, maybe we don't particularly feel the New Year like others because we worked during the holidays, so it doesn't feel very much New Year-ish, but Happy New Year. Let's start off with the Punch newspaper this morning. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, the big story there says, Federal government 9 billion naira e-border project fails to stop bandits and illegal aliens. Is that what we are calling them now? All right. Illegal Niger, Cameroon immigrants infiltrate Jigawa, Taraba, others. Borders automated, insists Interior Minister. Air Chief celebrates NAF engineers for reviving moribund aircraft. Tension rises as gunmen kill 18 in Imo communities. EFCC detains 10 officers for stealing cash, gold exhibits. Now, wow. Backbiters behind my kangaroo impeachment, Makinde's ex-deputy says, Chakba Agberu Eba. 17 other Nigerian words added to Oxford Dictionary. Emefiele loses bid to stop $4.5 billion, 2.8 billion naira fraud trial. Ganduje tackles Obi as APC spokesman receives 200 death threats. Court orders for future of 228 million naira linked to ex-Governor Orji. That's all on the front page of the Punch.
Yeah, just look at
EFCC story.
Just look at it's not EFCC story. I mean, just look at Nigeria. look at the things that make up our headlines in the morning. It's almost depressing. There's no story here in the whole of the Punch, and I understand the bad news travels faster theory, but there's no story here that just tells you that the country seems to be moving forward or the things seem to be working. No headline in the whole Punch. The EFCC's officers are stealing, gunmen are killing people in Imo State. I don't even know what an e-border is. We're talking about bandits and illegal aliens.
Illegal aliens. Illegal aliens for me.
Death threats are being sent left and right, between APC and Peter Obi and whoever else. Anyway, let's move on to the Daily Trust newspapers to see if it might be brighter over there. Nigeria to UN, probe Boko Haram's funding and training. CDS suspects, CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, suspects international conspiracy. If you watch the interview with Al Jazeera, you know what it's talking about. Federal government hints at new national carrier. We spoke about that already. Expect tariff hike from telco soon, says Minister.
Now what?
11 killed, 31 houses razed in Jigawa ethnic crisis. A driver nabbed with 59 trafficked children in the FCT. And 25% implementation of 2024 budget unacceptable, says the National Assembly. 25%. China approves $255 million loan for Kano-Kaduna Railway project, and also a policeman accepts Islam 2 years after rejecting a $200,000 bribe. All right. We can squeeze in one more paper and then bring in Mr. Akatugba to speak on these stories. In the Vanguard newspapers this morning, states race to build airports as hunger bites harder. Obi, I have received over 200 death threats. APC spokesman Felix Morka says, we won't dignify Morka's claim with a response, obedience is saying. And also, top of the screen, federal government won't approve 100% tariff increase for telcos, says ministers. Wike, Fubara, and others should work with Atta-led committee, says Pandef. I grew from our Marjorie school to become CEO of NNPCL. I'm not sure why that is a thing to be celebrated. Why is there an Marjorie school in the first place? Businessman asks court to reverse sale of his 43 million naira shares to telecom firm. I think these are the big stories that we can find on the Vanguard this morning. Mr. Akatugba, let's start with the Punch this morning. The big story there on the part. I'm not sure what an e-border project or e-border really is, but the federal government's 9 billion naira e-border project fails to stop bandits and illegal aliens. Illegal Niger, Cameroon immigrants infiltrate Jigawa, Taraba, others. Borders automated, insists Interior Minister. We would almost never end our conversation on insecurity if we do not fix our borders.
Nigeria is an attractive destination for crime. And it's a place that's been so porous for many years. And e-border is laughable where you have the porosity of the border between Niger and Sokoto running down all over that place. It's something that you cannot monitor. What is e-border? What does it mean? The word e-border. The word border is not the stretch of the corridor, but it's just a gating area.
Yeah.
So if you are doing e-border, what about all of those areas? The bandits and terrorists will never pass through an official route or route into the country. So it's laughable. Sometimes you see the politicians use challenges to make money. And so when you are seeing a problem, politicians are seeing an opportunity to make money. If there is a flood, the average politician, which is the food soldiers, they see food has come. If there's a building collapse, there will be something to be done in order to resolve that. People therefore make money during that process. So if the problem, the challenges and the misery of the people is actually the opportunity for politicians to make money. This is why they never end.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was just looking up online to see the e-border and what it entails. They're talking about surveillance on the borders, real-time surveillance.
Which border? Is it the line and the stretch of the border that Buhari said only God can save us?
Let's talk about...
Buhari, a military general, after many years, said the border is so long that only God can save us. It's not a matter of... So whoever proposed the e-border wanted to make another money. Don't forget about the CCTV cameras in Abuja.
Yes,
where is the project?
till today.
So listen, Nigeria is having, okay, he complained about the headlines. The headlines of Nigerian newspapers are not independent of the opinion. They're not independent. They are sponsored, they are paid for. So politicians utilizes all this. The Nigerian way of news and reporting has always been negative because it sells, like you said, and that is what keeps the newspapers in the conversation. Because if they put developmental stories, they might not read it. Because all the stories that are progress, they give them small headlines. I built my community while I was a member of a community, and we built a road, and we wanted to make sure they write about it. We had to pay. And so positive stories are paid for. Negative stories are not paid for.
Well,
and
maybe so if the positive story is about is a story that the government has done.
But then you have to balance it. You have to keep hope alive. If you fill your headlines with so many negative stories and the foreign...
And I agree with you. I want to see positive stories. I'm just saying that you have to pay for it because you're not officially were you in the government?
Anything positive that even government pay to besides their positive stories, but they don't pay for the negative.
Not necessarily. So if the government puts out,
I know that this will offend a lot of people, but that is what happens. If you do anything positive, you have to pay for it.
As an individual, yes, maybe. Yeah. But for the government...
Who runs a country? The individuals.
And even as individuals, the number of positive stuff I've done, I've seen it in papers without having
if you say so, then they are not in the headlines, right? They are hidden somewhere.
They are in the headlines.
So you've got to solve through. The point I want to raise, whenever we populate the news and the atmosphere with negative stories, a visitor, when I enter any country, the first thing I do is to buy all their newspapers and I to tune to their local TV stations. If I go to Delta, I search for DBS television. I try to see what they are reporting. And so the foreigner or the visitors, they gauge the mood of your country by... So when you visit Ghana, you will search for the negative news. In fact, the negative news is given a positive slant. I listen every morning across the country, tuning in into different African countries through different systems in order to monitor the temperature, the news. There is something about caring for the well-being of their citizens. And if they do so, there is no hopelessness, but they are attacking their problems.
Okay.
So we need to see. It's
but it's not like any of the stories are lies.
We didn't say they are lies, but there is also something positive in any negative situation.
Okay, help us.
For example, EFCC.
That's what I wanted us to talk. They've detained 10 of the officers for stealing cash.
That is actually a positive story, not a negative story. What is negative is what those guys have done, because the EFCC could cover them up. But the good story is that EFCC is acting to ensure that it cleans its own house. But EFCC has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I tell you, the problem with all of this is just the quality of the Nigerian man, his mindset. We are, on a daily basis, hunting for money. And that affects the quality of service delivery in this country to all citizens. That's why once you have electricity challenge, you begin to pay a company that provides electricity that's supposed to be a private enterprise. You pay the individuals. They ensure that the problem is exacerbated in a way that they will let you know that it's very difficult to achieve it. And then they make money in the process. It comes from government, it comes from government officials, private, even the private sector, they are also culpable. We have a long walk to get out of the doldrum and where we're falling into. And I remain positive that if we continue, we will get there. But the fourth realm of the estate, the press, has a lot to do to help the quality of the mind of the Nigerian.
Well, Ganduje tackles Obi as APC spokesman allegedly receives 200 death threats. And of course, Peter Obi also claimed, that he had also received death threats as well. So it feels like,
death threats, aura for aura.
This is condemnable. The government should not, on the face of politics, pay no attention to be, a cry of being threatened. I have been threatened when I make comments. So Nigeria is charged with political soldiers that are violent, and they want to do well to satisfy their paymaster. There's a desperation for survival, and that desperation is not only on our streets, it's even in the corridors of power. And so everyone is trying to do something untoward to prove to the political leader that is worthy of being considered for an appointment. And so what Obi is saying should not be taken lightly, should be investigated, and government should take very drastic steps if there is anyone who on the face of politics is threatening another.
Do you expect that to happen?
I call for that to happen. If they do not do so, because politicians know that the hooligans are part of their assets, and they need to change that culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same government that had, one of its closest allies and friends threaten people during the elections and tell Akatugba to not come out to vote. And even on election day, you could see him also being very vocal and threatening people. It's the same government that had, people working in government as media aides or whatnot, saying, this is our Lagos, or my Lagos, not your Lagos, or something like that. And government officials, the same government that had, made promises here. We had the police spokesperson here making, promises that they were going to investigate the Lagos PDR Twitter account that had threatened another tribe here in Lagos, and did absolutely nothing. So, again, do you expect that there would be any actual...
That's why I said to you that from my observation, all politicians, political parties, they keep them as part of their assets. And they enjoy it when they do so because the political leader keeps a clean face and the foot soldiers do the damage. That is not only in Nigeria, all over the world. Even in the American election, as pressing as it is, threats were issued to one another. But we must walk away from that culture, and then political foot soldiers who do this should know that as you do that, you damage the psyche of your nation, and you only come into office because you have a hope of grabbing a little pie for your own good.
All right.
But ultimately, the country becomes a challenge, and you become also an endangered species if you continue in that trajectory.
Yeah.
Okay. We must, you see, as we progress as humans, what is happening, you hear that the British people have unwritten constitution. The only reason they tell you that is because they have developed a certain pristine humanity where they can, the laws of the British society, if you implement them in America, you will not achieve results, because every society has its life cycle, stage of life, and Nigeria is in the underdeveloped state. Okay. And so we are moving towards developing society, and we cannot develop only on the basis of infrastructure. We must develop the people.
Okay, let's go to the Daily Trust now and look at the big story. Nigeria to UN, probe Boko Haram's funding and training. CDS suspects international conspiracy. Now, this, of course, is referring to the interview that was granted to Al Jazeera by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, where he, of course, was asked questions about the progress that Nigeria has made against the fight, in the fight against insecurity. And there he mentioned a number of things that insinuated that there might be some level of international conspiracy. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
unless truth be told, one thing that has baffled me for so long is that the Boko Haram enterprise seems never to run out of resources. And they are confronting a state that has all the resources, and this crisis is not abating. And they keep swelling in numbers, they keep repeating, they keep resurging.
Yeah.
It means that the chief of Musa there, who spoke like that, is very clear, and the truth is about to come out. The United Nations need to look at it. How come you have a group of people not well trained, not well resourced, not organized into a country where they collect taxes and have revenue, and they're able to wage a relentless, repeated, long-drawn battle against Nigeria?
Is it the United Nations who should, look into this? Or do you think the Nigerian government knows?
The Nigerian government has no capacity to do so. Because any battle
has no capacity
to probe the Boko Haram source of funding, they cannot.
Oh, that's it. That's shocking.
I'm telling you the truth. I don't like to deceive myself. They cannot, because it stretches beyond their capacity to do so. And that is why it has gone this far. While in the side of Nigeria it's been a trade, that's why you see one of the military chiefs told them in one of the states that we didn't send you here to make money. It's a theater of commerce, including NGOs and everyone. It's a theater of commerce. Even if you are an administrator in Nigeria, you'll be shocked. In fact, you become so shocked that you'll not be able to make any comment. That whoever is making comment, you will have an inner, will be giggling, laughing, like, if you know what I know.
That's very... I mean, maybe laughter is the only response that I would have, for how damning, these things are.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Okay, let's do... let's look at the story about the 59 trafficked children in the FCT. A driver nabbed 59 trafficked children in the FCT. We took this story earlier. We took a report about it. Part of the excuse the driver gave, he's pleaded not innocent. And part of the excuse he's given is that the parents have given permission. The parents gave him permission to take these children for Islamic studies in Nasarawa. Yeah. So let's get your thoughts on this.
Well, that's proper Amajari initiates. That's how they easily move the children all over. A friend of mine went to the north to do business, and one young boy, less than 7 years, was very dutiful, was very supportive, was very, everywhere he went, he sent him on an errand, and he told the man, this is your son, I like him. I wish I like him. The man, and before he said, the man said, take him. No papers.
Wow.
He just said, take him. He's my son. So it's possible.
Yeah. On the Vanguard this morning, let's say Nigeria. On the Vanguard this morning, states race to build airports as hunger bites harder. And also, of course, still talking about Almajiri, the CEO of NNPCL says he grew from Almajiri School to become NNPCL CEO. That's Mele Kyari. So you pick either of them.
That's a positive story. Very impressive. I have been very critical of the NNPC because of their repeated and disgraceful failings over the years, and the role they have played in not managing properly. And that's sadly part of the government architecture where everything we do is about trade, it's about making money, it's about who represents the place. So interviews are very good. They reveal a lot. They dispel rumor and they confirm facts and open up, the truth. So the story of Mele Kyari should be inspirational, should inspire all of us. I am very proud of his rise from, such a despised group to where he is today. So we commend him, and we ask that he continue to do well to fight for Nigeria, because I doubted his NNPC, and I thought that they were no good, so they should sustain the progress they are making. The other story is...
states race to build airports as hunger bites harder.
That's the most important story. In this country, like I told you, if we take away the trade and the inordinate ambition to make money without work, Nigeria will just rise exponentially. State executives are looking at what big project can give me that good return. That's why they just to do gigantic projects that they know they will not complete. and they go and start an airport because that is in there, in that huge contract, a little bit of it will just turn the story. So, because a state chief executive will not want to be picking crumbs from small deals. That's why they do viable airports.
The Minister for Works,
not viable.
Yeah, Minister for Works did an airport in Ebonyi State that, arguably did not need an airport, but he built one. That airport has barely ever worked since he left. The new governor came in and renovated the runway of the airport that just was built.
Once they get in, there's one going on in Kogi now too. So then once they get in, they will want to do a big, hopeless, unviable, but they just have to do something as their signature project. Well, you see, Nigeria is not so big that we cannot traverse many states by road. The country is, so we need just airport in strategic location. You can do the rest by road. I just want to say that while the state people might be deceived to applaud, how many planes will fly into that place eventually? Many of the airports. What is the commercial viability of that airport? What is the commercial activities taking place there to warrant people flying into that state regularly to sustain that airport? So, well, I'm sure they will be advised, and if they don't want to be advised, because it's like a disgrace if you go into government in Nigeria and you didn't succeed and keep enough money in your war chest, because political war chest in Nigeria is only about money. Yeah, it's not about intellect, it's about money.
Don't you believe that David Umahi should be called to answer exactly why that airport was built? And
everyone who has built an unviable project should also answer for it. And that is to the extent of his state. The State House of Assembly, why are they not calling him? It's because somebody, we do favors to one another. So if you are a politician and I helped you to be, will you attack me? Don't you know that every chief executive in Nigeria is the greatest human being who lives until the day he leaves office?
Yeah.
Don't you understand what money does in this state? Why is it that the governor who wins an election suddenly becomes the most powerful man? Because he has the key to the treasury and that he can change your life in a minute. And Nigerians are looking for miraculous breakthroughs. And that's the prayer of every Nigerian, that without the work that you need to put into it, your life can turn around and we can all say, that guy has made it.
Okay.
Has made it how? What has he contributed in work? So we run towards the man that holds the treasury and he becomes the current god, and then everybody else just continue to swell around him. He makes a few people richer by doing the illegal things, and they try to tell we have a long walk to freedom.
Okay, I think a final story from me, I think, is on the Punch newspaper. We had taken this earlier. Federal lawmakers seek more funding for 2024 capital projects. They've said that, they are canvassing for the release of more funds to capital projects in last year's budgets. Okay,
that's the budget they have extended. Okay, and the capital projects, are they constituency projects, or which capital projects? Are they projects that are nationally relevant?
Let me even read, the rider. It said capital releases to MDAs.
It's on the Nation.
It's on the Nation newspaper. Are major drivers of economy. Edo's, it says, okay, that's a bit unclear. But it says federal lawmakers have canvassed the release of more funds for capital projects in last year's budget. They decried the low level of fund releases for capital projects to industries, ministries, and departments and agencies. Yeah. According to them, the executive should take advantage of the extension of the 2024 budget to July 30th to make more funds available to execute capital projects.
That's a good call. If there are no 10%ers waiting in the wing for those deals or for those contracts that need to be paid for. The point I want to raise, this is a good call, but take note. One of the things that is wrong with our country is that the budget is actually an enterprise for secret trades. Now, if you say your capital project you have extended it, what percentage have you released? Because if you keep making budget and you don't release up to 10-20% for those projects, you prolong their completion and they become sometimes abandoned projects and then they scatter all over the country. So we need to do more. And then this idea that traveling is a capital project in the ministries have to be looked at in government parastatals. Traveling is captured under capital projects. So they always have money for traveling. They only have money for their Easter codes.
They just, I mean, a couple of them were in the UK recently.
To celebrate, you know, a very grand occasion, the graduation of the FCT minister.
So they don't lack the money for trips, for air tickets and all that, because it's captured under capital. Have you seen that? That? And so that is because it satisfies government officials and everyone to always have money for their pleasure, for recurrent spendings. But the capital projects and the contractors can be owed. You know, government used to be proud of being a good debtor, that if it's government, one day you'll be paid. And they have ruined many contractors' lives. Those who borrowed to render services to government have been ruined because the loan and the money they took, they couldn't pay back for upward of 3 years. And when the money was even paid back, a lot of oil hands will be greased along the way, frustrating the entire value chain, because the contractor that is not paid will not meet his obligations.
So just a quick one before we wrap up. I feel like you have a perfect assessment of what Nigeria is. I mean, from your narratives concerning the security challenges that we have, the presence of NGOs and, you know, everybody who also wants their palms greased, and of course the international influence in all of that. How can we ever fix Nigeria?
Good. We can fix Nigeria with sincerity of purpose, which is a scarce commodity. So, we have been trying, we're fighting one another, we're talking, every day, the papers, every day, look at the work you've been doing over the years, your commentary, your forthright. You know, it's a prick of conscience. As we keep fighting, someone will come that will do a bit, another will come and will do a bit. And inch will continue to get to the mark, because we have left ourselves undeveloped for too long. What pains me is that for many years, Nigeria did not pay attention to human capital development. And the quality of the Nigerian mind depleted so dangerously that you can't believe how the average Nigerian reasons. It got to a stage that we believe that a phone call can actually kill you. And that number kills.
I remember that time when they tell you don't pick any call from so and so number, that anyone who picks it will die.
The human life is so fragile that just a call, you would be dead. The day I was in Accra driving on the road, that was when I decided to come back home. And I heard the news, I was listening, I started crying. I was crying because I couldn't believe, I don't cry. I couldn't believe the quality. The lady was talking about how the policeman put him in detention and was actually, he put about 6 of them, and he overheard him talking about what he has in detention and what he believed he was able to pay the children's school fees. Because he was calculating the bail money for 6 people he had illegally detained. And he actually calculated the school fees of his children on that. This lady was crying. Wrongly picked up that she was wondering, something that was not that's no more in our books, or for which reason you should not pick anybody up anyway. So I tell you, what do they do at the police station? What is happening at everywhere? A policeman who's listening to me this morning knows that he makes money from detaining and illegally oppressing the citizens. NSAS came, we seem to have forgotten that, and the police seems to have gotten back to their original state where they brazenly receive money from anyone who is in their grip. And they are